That was Do You Know the Devil by Vince Staples on Crybaby. Fun fact, they forgot to put my question mark at the end of that song on the artwork. I've been mad about it for months. But you got to learn how to let things go in art. You know, art is about compromise. It's about sacrifice and things like that. I really wanted my question mark. That shit meant a lot to me. I'm still upset about it, to be honest. But what can you say? What can you do? You know, you just gotta roll with the punches.
Vince Staples opens Crybaby with Blackberry Marmalade, a record attempting to blend the benefits and curses of being black in the United States. Even the title carries symbolic weight. The word marmalade comes from the Portuguese marmalada, referring to quince paste or marmelo. Portugal's role in the transatlantic slave trade gives that word a deeper historical shadow. Over centuries, Portuguese and Brazilian ships forcibly transported millions of enslaved Africans across the Atlantic. So when Vince invokes blackberry marmalade and sweet tea, the image is not merely decorative. It becomes a symbol of Black American tradition, generational memory, domestic warmth, and the fragile safety Black people have had to create inside of a hostile country. The sweetness matters because Vince immediately places it under threat. Blackberry Marmalade is not a nostalgic song in the simple sense. It is a song about comfort surrounded by violence. Blackberry Marmalade and sweet tea evoke the kitchen, the family table, the summer afternoon, the taste of home. But beneath that warmth is the possibility of being gunned down. That phrase collapses the entire contradiction of the song into one violent image. Vince is not asking America for abundance or luxury. He is asking for the most basic condition of citizenship, the right to remain alive. Before that request, Vince asks for honesty, reminding the listener that honesty is supposed to be the best policy. That moment is important because honesty is one of the rarest resources inside of the American empire. The country is built on contradictions. It refuses to name clearly. It praises labor while stealing credit from the laborer. It celebrates Black cultural production while fearing Black people. It calls someone rich while taxing him, policing him, and still denying him full safety. Vince is asking for the truth beneath the slogan. If honesty is the best policy, then America must tell the truth about what it demands from Black people. Work hard, generate value, entertain the country, pay into the system, and still live under the threat of being shot down. That is why the song's violence feels inseparable from its economic critique. Vince lists contradictions that reveal the logic of American life. The Black subject is expected to produce but not complain, to succeed but not be protected, to become wealthy but not free. Success does not remove him from danger. Money does not rescue him from the state. Visibility does not become safety. In fact, visibility can only make the target clearer. This is where Crybaby begins its larger argument. Black culture is presented as shelter, but also as something America consumes, surveils, extracts, and threatens. Vince understands sweetness as real but never stable. It exists inside of a nation that repeatedly turned Black life into labor. The result is an album where beauty never arrives without the history attached to it. Writer Frantz Fanon is useful here. In Black Skin, White Masks, Fanon writes, "The Negro is comparison. The language is historical, but the idea remains vital." Fanon is describing the psychic violence of a racial world that constantly measures Black humanity against white fear, white standards, and white institutions. Crybaby lives inside of that pressure. Vince is not only describing racism as something external, he is examining the experience of being watched, judged, copied, feared, marketed, and disciplined. Before the Black subject can speak, he is already being interpreted. Before he can be innocent, he is already being measured against danger. The same tension places Crybaby in conversation with Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun. Hansberry's play centers on the younger family's ordinary dream, a better home, more room, more dignity, and a future not predetermined by poverty or segregation. What makes the play tragic is not that the family dreams too much, but that America makes even the modest Black dreams feel politically dangerous. A house becomes more than a house. It becomes safety, it becomes grief, and it becomes the right to imagine a life beyond containment. Walter Younger captures this when he says, "We have decided to move into our house because my father, he's earned it for us brick by brick." The house is not simply property, it is labor made visible, it is grief transformed into shelter, it is the dream of black safety becoming material even as America tries to price that dream out of existence. Vince works from a similar emotional register on Blackberry Marmalade. Like Hansberry's house, the images of marmalade and sweet tea are more than subjects of comfort. They are the proof that black people have created tenderness inside structures designed to deny them rest. In both works, black domestic life becomes political because America has never allowed black comfort to be neutral. If Blackberry Marmalade gives us the taste of black memory, Go Go Gorilla turns toward the systems that make that memory unstable. The song is one of the album's clearest confrontations with police power and racial dehumanization. Even the title is intentionally uncomfortable. Gorilla carries the weight of a racist visual history that has long compared black people to animals in order to justify their punishment. Vince places that language at the center of the song, so the listener has to hear how dehumanization becomes chant, it becomes rhythm, it becomes public language. The song's most devastating move is its return to childhood. Vince recalls being 12 years old during an encounter with the police, and that age changes the moral temperature of the record. 12 is not adulthood. 12 is not criminal maturity. 12 is the age where a child should be still protected by the world. But black children, according to Vince, are often treated as if they already are threats. The state ages them prematurely, then punishes them for the danger it projected onto them. This once again is Fanon's comparison made physical. The police encounter becomes a scene where the black body is read before the person is heard. Vince is not merely telling a story about mistreatment, he is showing how the state produces blackness as a problem and then treats its own projection as the evidence. The song's energy makes this critique even sharper. The bounce almost disguises the brutality of the subject, but the tension is the point. Vince makes the listener move to the song about being dehumanized. In doing so, he asks one of the album's central questions. What does America do with black pain? It fears it, it profits from it, dances to it, debates it, and then asks black people to stop crying about it. White Flag marks the album's first major tonal pivot. After the sharper confrontation on Blackberry Marmalade and Go Go Gorilla, Vince lowers the emotional temperature. The first two records accuse America. They name the sweetness black people preserve and the state violence that threatens it, but White Flag sounds like the moment after the accusation, when the speaker realizes the country has already heard the charge and chosen not to change. The central phrase, White Flag, I don't want to fight no more, is devastating because it refuses ornament. Vince is not performing a revolutionary speech here. He is giving exhaustion a sentence. The white flag usually signals surrender, but on this record, surrender does not mean moral defeat. It means collapse of the illusion. Vince is not surrendering because America has won the argument. He is surrendering the belief that America was ever confused about its own violence. This is why the vocal register matters. He sings with a softness that reduces the intensity of the first two records. The delivery feels almost deflated, as if anger has burned long enough to become clarity. He does not sound shocked by the country anymore. He sounds like someone coming to grips with exactly what this country is. War, police brutality, exploitation, and racial inequality are not interruptions of the American enterprise. They are among its organizing principles. In that sense, White Flag is not a retreat from the album's politics, it is a deepening of them. Vince's quietness becomes an indictment. The reduced intensity does not soften the critique, it makes the critique more frightening. Rage still believes someone might listen. Exhaustion suggests that the speaker has seen enough evidence. On White Flag, the crybaby is no longer pleading with America to become better. He is standing in front of the flag, seeing it clearly and deciding he is no longer the one who wants to fight for the fantasy it sells. By the time Vince reaches 7 in the morning, Crybaby has arrived at its most devastating conclusion. The album begins with sweetness under threat, then moves into confrontation with the police state, and then lowers itself into the exhausted surrender of White Flag. But 7 in the morning is where that surrender becomes daily routine. The title alone suggests obligation. 7 in the morning is not the hour of revolution, it is the hour of alarms. Alarms for work, school, traffic, survival, and submission to the day's demands. It is the sound of the body being called back into the system. This is the conclusion Vince seems to reach. Rebellion may be emotionally necessary, but it is structurally futile. The American enterprise is far too large, too old, and too self-sustaining to be undone by recognition alone. You can name the violence, you can expose the contradiction, you can even raise the white flag, But morning still comes, the alarm still rings, the country still asks you to participate in the very order that wounds you. That's what makes 7 in the morning so bleak. Vince is no longer imagining revolution as a imminent escape. He sounds more like a soldier inside the American project, someone who understands the war is wrong but still has to report for duty. The language of soldiering matters because it captures the contradiction of black life in America. To survive the nation, one must often become disciplined by it. You learn when to speak, when to be quiet, when to move, when to endure, when to save your grief for a later date. 7 in the morning completes the logic of Crybaby. It does not force the state to repent. It does not stop the violence or transform the country. Instead, the cry becomes a method of survival. Vince will not be delivered from the American enterprise. He will wake up inside it. He will go quiet when quiet is required. He will accept the station the country has built around him, not because it is just, but because survival often demands compromise with injustice. This is what makes Crybaby such a mournful political record. It is not an album about innocence lost because Vince Staples never pretends innocence was available in the first place. It is an album about recognition, recognizing the sweetness black people preserve, the violence that surrounds it, the state that enforces it, and the exhaustion that follows when resistance meets the machinery. By 7 in the morning, Vince has not abandoned this critique. He has simply learned the cruel rhythm of the country. America wounds you, then asks you to explain the wound, profits from the explanation, and then asks you and expects you to wake up early the next day. In the end, Crybaby is not the sound of surrender because the pain was imaginary. It is the sound of surrender because the pain was real, repeated, and built into the day.
Hello world. We're at the rehearsal for the Vince Staples Crybaby label mandated fan base show that's free for the algorithm, so we can speak to the algorithm and show them that we're hot in the streets and hopefully get more streams. 1,500 streams equal an album sale, so listen to your song 1,500 times because it's natural, normal. And just act like you love music enough to stream it 1,500 times for it to equal once. Or you can buy a CD or a vinyl.